So Marcia, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I think RELX has been very motivated to take part in our Blueprint for SDG Leadership action platform because it aligns so well with RELX's own ambitions to be leaders on the SDGs. So I'd be interested to hear from you how the leadership qualities of the Blueprint now resonate with your SDG activities and what your ambitions are as you aim to be an SDG leader.
Thank you, Caitlin. First, a word about RELX Group. We're a global provider of information and analytics. We employ about 33,000 people in 40 countries. And we positively impact society through what we call our unique contributions as a business. So we do a lot of soul searching about what is it about our company that's different from our sector peers in the media. So Elsevier, our science business, promotes access to science and improving health outcomes, and an example of that would be Science Direct, the world's largest scientific database. Protecting society through our risk solutions business. An example would be Global Watch List, which is helping in the fight against money laundering. LexisNexis Legal and Professional, which is focused on promoting access to justice and the rule of law through their products like Lexis Advance. And then our exhibitions business, Reed Exhibitions, which is running shows like World Future Energy Summit, which happens every January in Abu Dhabi, or the World Travel Market, which happens in London. So it's about fostering communities, and in the cases of the two examples I gave, in renewable energy and sustainable tourism. So Caitlin gave me a challenge, and she said, look at what you're doing now related to the SDGs and see if you can group by cluster, so beginning with SDG 1 through 6 for people, and show how an activity might be aligning to the 5 pillars of the blueprint. So I've taken this to heart. I've made some notes here. And I thought of something that we've recently introduced, which is a free research publication called Gender in the Global Research Landscape. So it's intentional. The CEO of that business unit, Ron Mobed, I'm going to read from the introduction. He said, as a steward of world research, Elsevier has a responsibility to produce gender equality in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, an advanced understanding of the impact of gender, sex, and diversity in research. Here's where it becomes intentional. He says, in this regard, Elsevier fully supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 5 to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. But of course, he has left out SDG 3, which is about promoting health and improving health outcomes. It's ambitious. It covers 20 years, 12 geographies, 27 subject areas, and hopefully it provides some powerful insight into guidance on gender research, gender equality policy for governments, funders, and institutions worldwide. And just a few quick highlights about the research. There's some good stuff. In 9 out of 12 comparator countries, which included the US, the European Union, or regions in that case, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Brazil, France, Denmark, etc. The output by women researchers is on the rise, which is a good thing. But in physical sciences, for example, women account in the period between 2011 and 2015 only 25% of the output in that subject area. And there's good news that women are increasing their share of patent applications. So between 1996 and 2000, that was 10%. In 2011 to 2015, it was 14%. But I think you can get a sense here that women are strongly underrepresented in putting out patents. And there's specific country information. In the case of Japan, only 1 in 5 researchers in Japan is a woman. However, their output per researcher in terms of women researchers in Japan is higher than their male counterparts. In terms of being consistent, it builds on some earlier research that we have put out in the public domain, again, freely available, to coincide with the launch of the SDGs. In September 2015, we released, and you can find it online, Sustainability Science in a Global Landscape. We looked at what is the science that's underpinning the SDGs. There was some really interesting research and findings. Sustainability science is growing at a 30% at the time more higher than other areas of research output, yet it comprised only 3% of the global research output. It showed that more north-south collaboration is needed. 76% of research, unsurprisingly, is produced by high-income countries, while only 2% is produced by low-income countries, those that are on the front line of things like poverty and famine and conflict. So clearly, one of the outcomes is that there needs to be more collaboration between the global north and the global south. In September of this year, to coincide with 2 years since the SDGs were released, we will be updating that research and again, making it freely available. In terms of collaborative, in the case of the global gender in the global research landscape, the analysis was informed by input from stakeholders and organizations across the world, including WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. And in terms of it being accountable, we need to bring it back into our own business, what's happening for us. When we look across the whole of RELX Group, I participated yesterday in the session that Lauren Gula hosted on inclusion. And one of the things that I see is that when women enter our organization, we're about half and half female and male. And as you move up through the ranks, that percentage drops lower. In 2016, we had 28% of all female senior leaders in our business as women, and women who manage was 43%. So it's not bad, it just needs to be better. And in terms of what Elsevier, who put out this gender research landscape report, is doing, they are trying to achieve the EDGE gender certification. So they've reached the EDGE assess level. They're trying to get to the EDGE move level. And what that requires them to do is to set specific targets. It also requires them to look at their policies, and they'll be taking that in-house. And one of the areas that we need to focus on is more flexible work policies. Very quickly, in the cluster 7 to 11 of the SDGs, prosperity, I just have an overall example here of World Efficiency Solutions. This is a Reed Exhibitions show. We did an initial show of this nature to coincide with COP21 in Paris, and we're going to be doing it again at the close of this year. And how I think it fits with prosperity is that according to the website for the show, my colleagues say that it is going to be focusing on the low carbon and resource efficient economy that can drive the low carbon and resource efficient marketplace. How it's intentional is that it says that a key objective for this show, World Efficiency Solutions, which you are all welcome to attend, will be about aligning new marketplace opportunities for the low carbon economy with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal agenda. In terms of the cluster of planet, 12 to 15, last year we introduced through Cell Press, which is a part of Elsevier, which is focused on microbiology. They released Chem, which is the first time that we're producing a journal in physical science that is specifically aligned with the SDGs. So it says that they are trying to get the people who are submitting papers to publish in Chem to categorize their research, show how it aligns with 10 SDGs, and in particular, 5 that relate to planet, so affordable and clean energy, clean water and sanitation, climate action, life on land, life below water. How is it consistent? Well, I think it builds on the core work of Cell, which is to produce cutting-edge biomedical research. It's collaborative because there'll be, for Chem, or is already, an advisory board of nearly 100 researchers in the field, accountable in terms of a free access paper that you can find when you land on Chem, which is quite interesting if you're interested in molecular biology. It's a molecular basis of sustainability, so that's interesting, I think. And how does it feed back to being accountable? I think we are, as the world's largest scientific publisher, we know that people can need access to the information and they might not be able to afford it. So we need to be thinking about solutions for how we make that available. And we're a founding member of something called Research for Life, which is a UN-sponsored initiative under primarily the auspices of the World Health Organization, making research available to researchers in the developing world that they would not be able to afford otherwise. It's either free or low cost. As an example, in 2006, we had 20,000 ebooks and 3,000 journals through Research for Life, and there were over 4 million article downloads by researchers in the developing world of our content. Finally, in terms of overall, I would like to invite you on the 21st of June to join me and colleagues, including 2 of my colleagues who are in the room, Steve Kenzie, who runs the network for the UN Global Compact in the UK, and Christian Toensen, who is the convener of the Responsible Media Forum, who are partners along with the Business Commission for Sustainable Development, for an Inspiration Day that we are going to be hosting on the SDGs. How do we get from where we are today to where we want to be by 2030? And we're using this event, and the reason we're having the event is because on the 21st of June, we are releasing something called the SDG Resource Center. It's freely available. We are going to curate content from across our company, including making 100 articles a year through Science Direct, freely available, which would normally be behind a paywall, available to showcase information that can be useful for driving forward the SDGs, and also creating tools. An example of that through our LexisNexis legal and professional business is an SDG news tracker. So you will be able to search over the last 30 days for news crawling over about 2 million sources every time you do a search for news that specifically relates to the SDGs. So those are some examples, but we have a lot to do within our organization. I'm interested in learning from all of you.
Thanks so much, Marcia. I think that in addition to what RELX is doing themselves, we so appreciate too that your products are helping to empower others to learn more about the SDGs and figure out how they can better work to advance them. I'll highlight just one kernel that came to my mind that gives us a really good opportunity to highlight the function of the blueprint based on your comments, is that we see that no company, no matter how leading they already are, has done everything they can to support the SDGs. There's no end goal or finish line where once you've achieved it, we can say, great, I'm an SDG leader, I'm going to relax. So the example of women in management positions in RELX is one where it's great to see that even though you're already doing so much, to recognize that you're being reflective and considering where the opportunities are to continue to advance and make further advancements or improvements within your company. So I think that's a really good message for our ambition for the blueprint as well, and how it will serve to continue to raise the bar, as Oxfam would say.